Michael, dude, this is the longest title I've ever read on this show from Ted Lynchfield over at Games Radar. Here we go. After Helldivers 2 cheaters undercut its latest major order by turning in millions of bug bits at once, Arrowhead canceled the whole thing with an in-universe justification. The ones submitting false samples have had their pet fish summarily executed. That's the title. Dude, like, wow. All right. Like, first of all, huge update just came out to Helldivers 2. Have you jumped back in?
No, I need to. I got in on the early hype, and I need to get back in.
Yeah, I know. I saw it come back around. Like, oh man, it's time to party up. In an in-game message to players, Arrowhead Games has revealed the cheaters short-circuited Helldivers 2 latest major order. The studio has given out intended reward to all non-cheating players in a typical Helldivers fashion, couching the whole thing in a super Earth appropriate terms within the fiction. Dude, I love that they play this up. It is so cool to go, you know what, we're gonna just nail you guys, but within the world itself, and just instead of coming out with some like PR speak, they play that role, right? Quote, Super Earth High Command has detected a large batch of counterfeit samples within the delivery of the last major order. End quote. It reads. Dude, it's so cool. Quote, as is customary, medals have been awarded to all Helldivers who honorably performed their duties, and the ones submitted false samples have had their pet fish summarily executed. Laboratories all across Super Earth space are attempting to filter out the false samples, but the expected scientific advances to combat the spread of the gloom have decreased significantly. As a result of this, worlds near the gloom have begun resettlement protocols. End quote. Michael, dude, I think it's just time we gotta jump back in, isn't it?
It feels like it's time to jump back in. As you said, I love the sort of role play they have with this. Now, it's not just a PR statement. They're having a lot of fun, and I always thought that this game was sort of interesting, right? Like, you get that major order that you look at it and you're like, okay, that's an impossible number. Then you realize, okay, it's everyone in the globe. We're all going to come together. It's sort of this evolving world. And I will say, this might be the most interesting way I've heard of someone or people cheat in a game, right? Usually when you think of cheaters, you're thinking of wall hacks, aim hacks, PvP focused. But in a game like Helldivers, like, okay, how would you cheat? Would it be like editing your profile? But to cheat to sort of bypass a major mission is... I never thought we'd hear cheaters that way, right? Like, I never thought someone would cheat in a PvE game, and that's what keeps getting me. I'm like, really? I guess we gotta hop back in, though. You're right. We gotta hop back in and check this game out, because it seems like it's still doing way better than I think anyone had thought when the first game came out. I remember people saying, this game's gonna be alright. This thing's blowing up still to this day.
No, absolutely, right? The major order to collect millions of samples of terminated matter was set to run for 4 days, with some players complaining of the difficulty of the assignment. After 2/3 of the objectives were done and dusted within the few hours, though, it was clear that something was amiss. It's unclear exactly how this was achieved, but despite boosting anti-cheat software, there are plenty of hackers in the co-op Helldivers 2. Some of whom have even sell their services digging up unreleased vehicles, activating God mode, or just skipping the grind for other players. I don't get it, right? I've never been a cheater to start with. It's just one of those things. Like, I remember going back in the day. Dude, remember the Game Genie?
Yep.
I'm old. I know. Yeah, that's where we started, right? Back in the day. You actually have to get this cartridge, then you plug in your game and then plug it into the Nintendo system, and then you punch in a couple codes, big head mode, God mode, all this kind of stuff, right? Now, dude, people are they have their own methods now of getting around everything. And I wonder how much of this comes down to not the console players themselves, but the PC side of things. How big is Steam for cheaters, right? Because on the PC, there's so many different ways to manipulate the software that I think that's where a lot of this cheating is coming from. You Steam 30 players, right? That's, I think, where it really lies. But what do you get out of it? I don't, like, to me, it loses the appeal of playing the game. And most of the time we see this really is in the multiplayer side of things, where it's PvP. Because, dude, I'll never forget the one time I was playing Fall Guys, and my kids and I were all playing, and this dude is hovering on the last challenge, hovering in the center. I was like, what is happening here, right? Yeah, you're gonna get the crown because you're not falling like the rest of us. You're just hovering around. I'm like, you get justification that they're doing that? Like that, you didn't win. You cheated, you loser, right? Like that, you're just a sad loser. Here's your participation ribbon. Is that what you really want? Congratulations. So for me, there is no participation ribbon. Dude, I go for first place. And if I lose, then I lose. I'm okay with that. There are times I get frustrated, but you still move on and lose. But this just seems such a weird way to do things, especially the PvE. But so cool for Arrowhead to go, you know what? We're going to nail you guys, and this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to play it up within the world itself versus, like I say, right, that usual PR speak.